I have heard Connecticut being referred to as the gateway to New England, but Connecticut is a lot more than that. As one of the original 13 colonies of our great country, Connecticut has a lot of history, but I'm not going to talk about that today. Today, I'm going to discuss the 10 reasons why people move to Connecticut. My husband Bob and I, we moved to Connecticut, specifically Newtown, Connecticut, back in 2000. Newtown is close to the New York border, so a lot of my references are related to the area and where I live and the areas that I am familiar with. So as a young child, I lived in Westchester. We lived in New Richelle in one of the apartment buildings. When I was about 10 years old, we moved to our summer house out in the Hamptons in a town called Sag Harbor. We lived there for a couple of years, and then my parents moved us to the South Shore of Suffolk County to a town named Blue Point. Blue Point is famous for the Blue Point oysters. Maybe you've heard of them. I stayed in that general area in the towns of Blue Point, Bayport, Sayville, Patchogue, Medford for many years. And when I reached my early 20s, I moved into Queens. I moved to Flushing, 161st and Northern Boulevard, and then eventually I moved to Glendale. I wanted to work in New York City, and I felt that the commute from where I lived on Long Island was just too far. When I met my husband, we moved to Oyster Bay, and eventually we settled in our beautiful home in Syosset, where we lived for 8 years. We made the decision to move to Connecticut so that we could have a simpler life, get some more of that small town feel, and get off the treadmill that we were on every day and just going. When I was a younger person, moving was a very simple task. Garbage bags, suitcases, a friend's pickup truck would move all of my belongings from one location to another. But as I got older and I accumulated more stuff, moving became more difficult. We have used moving companies, rider trucks. Recently, we had a pack rat unit, which I thought was really cool. And we transported our more fragile or expensive items in the car from one place to the other. I have a lot of experience in moving, and it's probably one of the reasons why I became a realtor. So now that I have given you some background information on myself, I'm going to move on to the 10 reasons why people move to Connecticut. People move to Connecticut from all over the United States and all over the world. People move here every day, and it always amazes me where people have relocated from to Connecticut. Now, in the 10 reasons, I'm going to present them to you. They are in no particular order, so let's go. Reason number 1, horses. There are a lot of horses in Connecticut. People own their own horse properties where they can have 1 to whatever number of horses that their town will allow. Some people board their horses in horse facilities. It seems to me that the equestrian world in Connecticut is very well connected and that everyone knows everyone. And if they don't, they know someone who knows someone. Horses are very much a part of Connecticut's landscape, and we see them often no matter what town that we are in. Reason number 2, boating. The southern part of Connecticut is known as the Shoreline, and the Shoreline is adjacent to the Long Island Sound. Boating is very much a way of life along the shoreline of Connecticut. As you move north through the state, some people opt to keep their boats in the marinas down along the shoreline, and they will travel down there every weekend to their boats. Some people enjoy boating on our many lakes. A very popular lake in the area where I live is Candlewood Lake. Candlewood Lake is very, very busy during the summertime. There are marinas around the lake, and many people have direct waterfront properties on Candlewood Lake with their own docks. Boating is very popular in Connecticut. Reason number 3 is work-related. Some people move to Connecticut because of job opportunities, and some people are relocated to Connecticut because of job opportunities. Now, large companies that are located here in Connecticut include Duracell, Boehringer Ingelheim, Lindy, Sikorsky, which was taken over by Lockheed Martin a few years ago, Spectrum, which has offices down in Stamford, Bridgewater Associates, perhaps you've heard of Ray Dalio, Bic, located on Bic Way, and Subway, who are famous for their sandwiches, are just a few of the employers in the state of Connecticut. Job opportunities in Connecticut, there are many of them. You should check into it, especially if you want to move here. Reason number 4. Proximity to 2 large cities. Depending on where you are in Connecticut, you are either closer to Boston or to New York City. It's that simple. Those big cities offer many job opportunities for people, and depending on which side of the state you're on, those big cities are commutable. For those of you who work at home and only need to go into the office once a week, twice a week, maybe once a quarter, or never, working from home is a great alternative. Connecticut has recently upgraded their internet system across the state of Connecticut, so in many areas we have really great internet service. Working from home is very much an option in Connecticut. Reason number 5, property taxes. You're moving from New York, you move to Connecticut. Our property taxes are most likely going to be a lot less than what you're paying for in New York. Here's an example. When we lived in Syosset and we moved from there in 2000, we lived in a 4,000 square foot house. Our lot size was 75 by 100 and we had an in-ground pool in the backyard. We had one of the biggest lots in our area. Property taxes when we moved were $7,500 a year. A couple of years ago, I got kind of curious and I looked up to see what the property taxes on my old house were. They were over $21,000 per year. Here in Newtown, I live in a 2,400 square foot ranch on 2 acres, and my property taxes are less than $10,000 per year. So there is a big difference, property taxes, between New York and Connecticut. Number 6, schools. According to Wallet Hub, Connecticut schools are rated number 2 out of all the states in the United States overall for quality and safety metrics. Wallet Hub also found that Connecticut has the best ACT scores and that approximately 7.6% of Connecticut schools are in the top 700 schools in the United States. Connecticut offers public school, private school, and many boarding schools. Types of education that children get in those schools vary by district, and I suggest that you check out the state of Connecticut's website to evaluate the school districts that you're considering moving to. Reason number 7, people who move from states that are very expensive to live in feel that they get more for their money in Connecticut when they purchase their home here. We call that more bang for their buck. Here's an example. We had a client who moved from Westchester to Newtown. Our client sold their house in Westchester for $1.2 million. They told us it wasn't anything great. It was a cape. It had 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and they wanted a larger home so that their family would be comfortable living there. They purchased a 3,500 square foot colonial here for $850,000. And their new home was on 2 acres. They knew they had hit the jackpot buying a home here in Connecticut. Reason number 8, to be closer to family. Younger people move to Connecticut because they can afford the home that they want in the state of Connecticut. They move into their home and their families begin to grow. So mom and dad want to move to Connecticut so they can be closer to their children and their grandchildren and establish those family bonds that are so important. Number 9, small town feel. Many of the towns in Connecticut still maintain that small town feel. It's something that is hard to explain, but when you get there, you know exactly what it is. You're in the supermarket and you're not rushed to get all your groceries onto the conveyor belt, and you have to be ready to pay and bag all your groceries so that you're not holding up the person behind you. Small town feel is after you have talked with your cashier a little bit as you're being checked out, and someone has packed your groceries for you, they ask you, do you need help bringing this out to your car? Small town feel. Many people want it, and it's here in Connecticut. Number 10, Connecticut has a large population of artists. Now, by artists, I'm all inclusive. It's not just painters and sculptors. We have many writers in the state of Connecticut, dancers, performers. There's a large artistic population in the state of Connecticut. And the celebration of arts in Connecticut is evident when you're in many of the towns. There are art stores, there are antique stores, there are craft fairs, there are arts festivals. They're everywhere. That, my friends, is the 10 reasons why people are moving to the state of Connecticut. I might have missed one or two, and if I did, I'm sorry. But I hope that you can see that Connecticut is a beautiful state. And although small, there's a lot to do here. Before you go, please like my video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you again soon.